Hello and welcome to this edition of World at War. My name is Mohammed Saleh. The first time Russia used a North Korean manufactured ballistic missile on Ukraine was on the 30th of December 2023, when Russia had struck the Zaporizhzhia region. And since then, Moscow has repeatedly deployed North Korean missiles, especially the Von 11 series, to carry out strikes deep inside the Ukrainian territory. While the flow of Western weapons into Ukraine to fight against the Russian onslaught has been patchy in the last 6 months, Russia's managed to dramatically increase its own weapons production capacity. Moscow has also been aided well by Iran and North Korea, even though both. This CCTV footage, captured on the 29th of April in the Ukrainian port city of Odessa, will give you a glimpse of the kind of firepower that Russia's deployed in this war. The series of explosions resulted in the deaths of 5 people, while 32 others sustained some serious injuries. One of the structures that was struck in this attack is the beautiful building of the Essa Law Academy, that is also known as the Harry Potter's Castle due to its ornate design. According to the Ukrainian Navy, this attack was carried out by Russia using the Iskander-M ballistic missile with a cluster. This week, the Commander-in-Chief of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, Alexander Syy, admitted that the position on the front line has deteriorated and that Russia has made a number of battlefield gains. The promised American weapons, though impressive on paper, are yet to reach the front lines, and this has dampened the morale of the soldiers holding the Ukrainian positions. Of course, we don't have enough shells. If we compare the beginning of the full-scale invasion, when we have fired up to 100 shells a day, then now when we fire 30 shells, it's a luxury. We may be given 5 or 6 shells, but more often we're not allowed to fire. We used to target military vehicles a lot, and we saw over streams where and what we hit. But now we're often not allowed to fire. Sometimes we fire in response to the Russian attacks on our personnel so that they cease. Since September 2023, North Korea sent a staggering 6,700 containers carrying millions of ammunition to Russia in exchange for food and other raw materials that are required for manufacturing weapons. Pyongyang has sent at least 3,152mm artillery shells that have made a huge difference on the battlefield. The West, too, is now upping. What is extremely concerning is the rhetoric that the Western leaders are now resorting to. Britain's Foreign Secretary, David Cameron, has now gone as far as to say that Western weapons can now be used by Ukraine to strike targets even inside of Russia. In terms of what the Ukrainians do, in our view, it is their decision about how to use these weapons. They're defending their country. They were illegally invaded by Putin, and they must take those steps. We don't discuss any caveats that we put on those things, but let's be absolutely clear. Russia has launched an attack into Ukraine, and Ukraine absolutely has the right to strike back at Russia. The Russians immediately hit back at this statement as a dangerous escalation, saying that the proxy war by the West is now a flat-out military contest. On May 2nd, the former Prime Minister, current Foreign Minister of Britain, David Cameron, during an interview to Reuters agency, suddenly claimed that Ukraine has the right to perform strikes, as he said, against the Russian territory using British weapons. There was a formidable fuss in the world's media, British included. Why so? Because it's the first time that a Western politician admitted something that is already an open secret to all the countries of the world's majority. The West is conducting a flat-out war against Russia with the hands of the Ukrainians. European leaders are increasingly realizing the stakes of the Ukraine war. Macron has repeatedly insisted that he won't rule out the possibility of French soldiers fighting in the Ukraine war theatre, and the question now is, how many more steps will the two sides go up the escalatory ladder before this war becomes an all-out confrontation between Russia and NATO?